Samsung and Huawei may be focused on the foldable screen game, but LG is ready to take things in another direction. It's here at IFA 2019 showing off the LG G8X ThinQ, which is basically the G8 with a second screen attachment. Contrary to what I first believed, this phone isn't something with two screens built into one device. It really is a single handset with a case, and you slot the phone into the accessory and connect it with the USB-C that supports DisplayPort protocols. Both the primary display and the second screen are OLEDs, 6.4-inch, running at full HD plus resolution, which seems really low for a 6.4-inch handset, but the screen still did look very nice when we were playing with it here in Berlin. On the outside, there is a 2.1-inch panel here that will only show the date and time and some of your notification symbols in black and white. The outside screen is actually pretty much like a mirror. It's very reflective, and the always-on display was very hard for us to read in daylight. But I guess if you're indoors and really need a quick look at the time, this can be handy. Now, the other thing that this case does is offer some durability to the device. This hinge is very sturdy, and unlike previous iterations that LG has tried before, this hinge here will open at any angle on a 360-degree rotational spectrum, whereas before it was only able to lock into place in 4 angles. The screens are identical-ish. There are notches on both of them, even on the secondary screen, which is a little bit useless, but hey, it's there for symmetry. On our early impression, it did seem like the primary screen was a little more yellow than the second one. We're not sure if this is because these are early units, and LG did stress that these screens are meant to look basically the same, even with color temperature and aging. In terms of actual differences from the previous iteration that we saw in February at MWC, there's some minor changes here. The selfie camera has a 32 megapixel count now, and this time the selfie camera has a 1.6 micron sensor size, and on the back they're 1.4 microns. This just means that they will let in more light for much better performance in dark situations. There's benefits for the second screen when it comes to the camera as well. You can flip the second screen all the way over and have it mirror the viewfinder, and so you can hand off your phone to someone else to take a photo for you and still see what you look like on the flip side. This UI just was very unintuitive for me to use here at the Hands-On. If I needed to use the secondary screen as the controller rather than the main phone, otherwise I was only going to be taking a picture of my nose. So this seems confusing for now. Maybe LG can fix that UI by the time this rolls out for sale. The other thing is with the adjustable hinge and that secondary screen, you can also use this kind of like a tilting LCD you find on a lot of DSLRs these days to help you get shots from odd angles, from very high up or very down low, for example. We're being rushed out as we speak. We don't have a lot of time to go into the details and test out a lot of the features here, but there's a lot of video camera updates here. There's stabilization, there is super fast AI action cam that helps you get very still action shots. Alright, so what is the benefit of that second screen? Well, obviously you can multitask like a pro. In addition to running 2 apps side by side, say you're emailing someone while watching Netflix, you can also, using a custom-built browser for the G8X ThinQ called Whale Browser, you can also open links on a tab next to the primary screen, so you have basically 2 browser windows open side by side. This makes it useful, say, when you're shopping on Amazon.com and you want to compare the goods that you're looking at. LG also built a custom keyboard that you can load on the bottom screen, and it takes up the entire size of that display, which makes it easier for typing if you have pretty big hands. But for me and my coworker Dan Cooper, we didn't find it that helpful. But it is nice to free up that screen space on the top for you to see more of your content, like the message you're typing, for example. LG also built custom software so that you can set up a software controller on the bottom screen and use your G8X ThinQ kind of like a DS. But we weren't able to test this out, unfortunately, because we needed to log in to our Google account, which we didn't have set up at this demo. So we'll have to take this out for a full proper test when we review it. Now this is powered by a Snapdragon 855 with 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage. You have a micro SD card slot, which is nice. Now with the 4,000 milliamp hour battery cell on board as well, LG says it's expecting about 1.5 days of use on the single phone standalone. If you attach a dual screen, you're getting about 1.1 days of use. So basically slightly more than a day. Other features are pretty par for the course for LG phones by now. There is a headphone jack, hallelujah, but also an in-screen optical fingerprint sensor because there's no room to put a biometric scanner anywhere else. As well as an updated LG UI called UX 9.0, which runs on top of Android 9. It looks a lot like Samsung's One UI, and it's cleaned up, featuring contrasty color themes as well as friendlier one-handed navigation. So these are all things that we really don't have the time to go into detail testing right now, but stay tuned to Engadget.com for a full review when we get this phone, as well as all of the news out of IFA 2019.